my screen. I hope you can see it now. Yes. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes,
Perfect.
JP.
Okay. So yesterday we have discussed about the sales tax authority, how to create sales tax authority, then sales tax settlement periods, how often we can settle the sales taxes. We have created periods accordingly. Then we have created this ledger posting groups wherein we have assigned the accounts related to sales tax payable, sales tax receivable, and the account for the settlement of taxes. So we have given that account as well. The final, I mean, not the final, we have also discussed about how to create sales tax codes in Dynamics. So in the different options left over in that sales tax codes creation, we'll see them now. Okay, so and we'll also discuss about sales tax groups and item sales tax groups today, and also see operations, how to apply the sales taxes on different documents as well as normal transactions. We'll see them. Now, I'll take you through this sales tax codes once again that we have created yesterday. For that, I'll just navigate to tax module. And under indirect taxes, sales tax, I can see sales tax codes, this one. Click on sales tax codes. So we have created multiple sales tax codes yesterday for the requirement. So like CGST 2.5%, SGST 2.5%, CGST 6%, SGST 6%, and also created IGST combinations, IGST 12% and IGST 5%. Okay, we can create few more codes. So I'll just show you how to create a code again. So in order to create a new tax code, you have to click on new. So I'll just give the name of this tax code as CGST 9%. And I'll give the same here, CGST 9%. So the default things that you have to, I mean, the mandatory things that you have to enter on a sales tax code is the sales tax settlement period and the ledger posting group. Okay, I'll select the sales tax settlement period, GST settlement periods, ledger posting group, also the name GST ledger posting group, selected both of them. And since it's a tax within India, so I just selected it as US dollar. If it is a foreign tax, or if you are paying any foreign tax levied by any import of goods from a foreign vendor, then you can select it as a foreign currency tax. If at all it's a foreign tax code. It's not a foreign tax code, so I just select it as US dollar since it's a local tax code here in the normal according to this company. Okay. Then if you have to give a value to this, you have to go to sales tax code and go to values. Here you can give a value as 9%. So I'll just give 9% and go back. So here I can see this 9% available once I give it there in the sales tax code values. So we'll discuss all of them, the menu details and all. Let's see how it goes. So within this page, we have conditional sales tax. So it's a very rare sales tax actually. Conditional sales tax means certain limit of a sales tax that is calculated will be withheld and certain amount is paid. So sorry, certain amount is paid on the invoice time itself, and other amount is paid during the payment amount normally. Once you do the invoice, normally you have to pay that conditional taxes. They have certain conditions. Very rarely in certain countries they have this conditional sales tax codes options. So in that conditional sales tax code option, you have to select another tax code within the tax code. So that particular amount will be paid during the invoice, and the remaining amount of tax calculated will be paid at the time of payment of the invoice or settled at the time of payment of the invoice normally. So normally you might have different conditions. Conditional sales taxes will come up with a lot of different conditions, not with a single condition. Okay. So I'm not adding any sales tax, conditional sales tax here since it's not required or not commonly used in by any clients usually. Packing duty, I can select a code for packing duty. So if at all there is any packing duty involved or a kind of another additional tax, packing duty is also kind of tax, right? You can give such code, packing duty code, like any code if you have any PAK or any code authorized by the authority. So you can give that packing duty code. If at all it is a packing duty related tax. Okay. So you can print the code or sales tax rate on the invoice. Normally I'll print the code so that on my code itself I directly have the percentage amount also, right? So it will be printed automatically. So I have created codes in such a way that within the code name itself I will have a percentage amount, so that while in printing of any invoices or reports, they automatically the percentage value also will show up along with the code. So that's why I select as print code. If I don't select print code, it will print the sales tax rate. Sales tax rate means it will print this 9, just 9. It won't give this CGST and all names. It just gives a percentage amount, that's all. But if I say print code, so it will automatically print the code name. So normally you can give the same code details here, print code, which code has to be printed. If at all you have another code to be printed, I mean you gave here a CGST for suppose, and if you want to give CGST 9% to be printed on the invoices, you can give it here. Or if you want it to be printed like this, CGST hyphen 9%, you can give it like this here. So it's up to you. This will be printed now instead of this. Normally this will be picked by default. If you give anything here in this print code option, this will be picked by default. So let's see how it will work. So only for invoices, on printing on the invoices, these codes will be taken. This particular, for printing on the reports, this will be considered. Okay, this is one part of sales tax code, general part. Other than this, there is one important part. So what all we have here are the most common selections on the defaults that were not actually changed, or most of the clients will follow the same setups that are given in default here. But there were other available configurations, or I mean options also, that we can see. So we have this calculation for origin, how sales tax has to be calculated. So you have 9% tax code given. So on which particular amount sales tax has to be calculated? Percentage of net amount, percentage of gross amount, percentage of sales tax, percentage of amount per unit, I mean sales tax calculated on each unit. And calculated percentage of net amount is something that we have. So most commonly used is percentage of net amount. So there will be differences according to this particular selection, whatever you will select. So let me check for it if I would find it. Calculation origin. There should be a document for this actually. I'm looking for this one. Sales tax calculation methods in the origin field. Yeah, we have it here. So here we have percentage of net amount, percentage of gross amount, percentage of sales tax, amount per unit additional examples, and calculated percentage of amount. So we have with examples here, we have this option, how the percentage or how it will be calculated, how tax will be calculated. So I'll just show you this example, percentage of net amount. So the percentage of net amount calculation method is default value. Sales tax is calculated as a percentage of the purchases or sales amount, excluding any other sales taxes. So it will not consider any other sales taxes. It will only calculate the percentage of tax on the base amount of the purchases or sales that you apply. So if it is on, say, purchase order, on the base amount it will be the purchase, and if it is a sales order, base amount will be sales. You can see the example. Tax rate is 25%. Let's assume the tax code, the percentage is 25%. Invoice line shows a quantity of 10 items, 1 each. Means 10 into 1, total of 10, right? I mean 10 items of 1 each, and the customer allowed 10% line discount. So you can see total quantity of items is 10, which is of each one will be $1 suppose. Total is $10, and there is also a discount. Line discount means kind of trade discount, let's assume. So there is a trade discount of 10%, which means that you can see 9 will be the base amount now. So this is the net amount, right? So net amount will be, and after deducting the trade discounts. So the original amount of the goods is $10, but after deducting the trade discount, you see the net amount as 9, and sales tax will be calculated on that particular amount, $9. Sales tax is 9 into 25%, 2.25. Now the total amount of invoice will be $9 plus 2.25, which is 11.25. This is how the percentage of net amount is calculated. So it will take off the deductions. If there are any trade discounts or any other rebates, it will deduct it and then it will calculate tax on the net amount that is calculated. If you see the same for gross amount, so you have a typical example for gross amount. So the tax authority has imposed special duties on an item. The duty amounts are added to the net amount before the sales tax is calculated. Given the following sales tax codes. Okay. So I'll briefly explain with a simple example. Here, suppose there is a purchase of $100. Okay, upon which there are already duty. Okay, there is a duty of 10%, packing duty, or call it any duty. There is a duty of 10% and there is a duty of 20%, both of them. So it's a small example. So $100. So after that, there is a sales tax of 25%. Okay. On $100. So first of all, there will be duty added. Duty will be 10% means $10, right? So 100 plus another $10 of duty. So according to this example, yeah, 100 duty they gave it as, duty 1 they gave it as 10%, and duty 2 they gave it as 2. Okay, I'll just show you simply. Okay, there is another one, right? So this one, duty, another duty of 20%. So that $20 charge also will be added. So it's like a duty that we have to pay to another authority maybe. So that is $20. Now the total amount is, or the net amount here is 10 plus 100 plus 10 plus 20. So totally $130. Now the sales tax 25% will be calculated on this $130. So this is a gross calculation, right? So in the gross calculation, normally in the percentage of gross amount, so whatever is the gross amount of invoice is there, after all adding up all the related taxes on the charges, so everything. So on the gross amount, this tax will be calculated as 25%. It's not the normal charges are not added, but any other duties or additional things that are added, so that will be considered for the calculation of sales tax. So what all the vendor is charging, so for that there will be a considerable charge. I mean, the gross sales tax will be calculated on the gross amount rather than on the net amount of purchases. That's what. So now the sales tax will be on $130. 130 into 25%, or you can say 25% into 130. So let's bring up the calculator. $130 into 25%. Sorry. 130 into 25%. We have 32.5. So it will be another plus. Sorry. $32.5. So totally the invoice amount will be at the end $162.5. So that will be the final invoice amount after all adding of all the duties as well as on the gross amount tax is calculated and added up. So total invoice amount is 162.5. Okay, in which, as according to you, the base amount is $130 and the tax amount is 32.5, and this will be the sales tax receivable. Since it's a payment transaction or a purchase transaction, so it will be sales tax receivable. So you will pay this 32.5 to the vendor, right? So you'll claim it as a receivable. That's how it is. We have different formulas and examples here for the other methods of origin of calculation. So you can go through this document once, all of you, so you will get better understanding of how the calculations are being made in various methods. The most common method is the net amount method actually. Okay, this one, percentage of net amount, is the most common and preferred method. There are also different options here. As you can see, sales tax on sales tax. There are different areas, like in Canada, we have certain taxes that are levied upon tax on tax. So federal taxes and provincial taxes we have. Upon the federal tax, we have additional tax of this province tax. So we have this percentage of sales tax. Means here I can select another code. So first of all, 6% tax will be calculated on the invoice. Upon the calculated 6%, another 9% will be calculated. Only on the calculated tax, another 9% tax will be additionally calculated for the other purpose or as a other tax. So like that. So this will be applied first to the invoice 6%. Upon the 6% calculation, another 9% will be additionally calculated as another tax. So according to this tax code. So that's what we say percentage of sales tax. So when I select percentage of sales tax, then only this field will be available. If I change it to anything else, this field is not available. Okay, I can also select amount per unit. Means for you can select one unit. So for each unit, percentage of 9% will be calculated. Suppose if there are 10 units in a single purchase order line, so on that line, so for each unit, it will calculate the tax. 9% will be calculated for each unit. So for 10 units, it will calculate total entirely 10 into 9%, 90% tax almost. So that's how you can give. You can select the units here. Each means EA you will have here each. Or you can directly select net amount once again where this field is not available or it will not again appear. That is T. Then there is some marginal base also calculation. Net amount per line, net amount per unit, net amount of invoice balance. So usually marginal base is net amount of invoice balance only, not net amount per line. So I think for marginal base also we should have this tax document. Yeah, we have this one, sales tax rates based on marginal calculation. So you can see this one as well. So accordingly we'll understand what is this net amount of according to the invoice and net amount according to per unit and all. So this will help you to better understand with the examples this document. So go through this one as well. Other than this, so the default or the most commonly used are percentage of net amount here, net amount of invoice balance here. So okay, I'm just using the same methods. So do go through this process, this documentation that I've shared you, and let me know if you have any doubts after understanding the examples, or we'll also discuss them again if you want to. Then we have this option, allow negative sales tax percentage. Do you also want to calculate negative sales tax percentage by applying this code? Which means sales tax will be calculated in negative normally. But I am not using any negative sales tax. I don't want to calculate any negative sales taxes. Either I will reverse them in case, but with the positive amount. So I'm not enabling this option of allow negative sales tax percentage. Then I have calculation method, whole amount or interval. Normally I can select whole amount or it is the default selection, means entire sales tax will be calculated at a time. If it is interval means, so it is calculated in different intervals. So in one interval, certain percent of tax will be calculated. In another interval, other percent of tax will be calculated and paid. Which means in the 9%, 3% will be calculated initially in one interval, and 6% will be calculated in another interval. So that interval taxes can be given on invoice, I think, if we select interval. But mostly it is whole amount only, or we'll calculate the whole amount of tax at a time on the invoice or the invoice line individually. So that's how these calculations work. We have this round off rules. So how do you want to round off your calculated tax according to this particular percentage code that you have given to, and if suppose if you apply this code to an invoice line, how it will calculate or how the rounding has to work, upwards or downwards or normal, you have the criteria to select. You can say 1% or 1 cent upward or downwards. Okay, and you say normal means it will either calculate upward or downward accordingly. Okay, you have this packing duty options also. In case if you are using any packing duty, you can specify this packing duty. Normally the packing duty sort code, suppose if I give something here and save it, and so even though I don't see it here. Okay, so I think this is not applicable here for the US jurisdiction. Since I have selected US as the localization, the packing duty and calculate before sales tax 2 are not applicable actually. This is for levying the packing duties or any other additional percentage of cess that you apply on any invoice for as a packing duty. Okay, it's not applicable here or in this situation. So you have report setup. So how you want to print the reports or in which particular format your sales tax report should look like. Normally at the end you see this report layout as US report layout, which we have selected for the authority. When we created authority, we have selected a report layout as US report layout. So it is the default report layout that we use for that will be used for printing of any reports of invoices or sales tax related, or else you can customize sales related reports and all. So that can be customized and placed in this particular areas related to sales, purchase and import duties if there are any. Or it will normally use the same report that you have given, use US report layout, which is the most commonly used report layout. For credit note related also you have the same fields, actually exactly the same fields, but this is for credit notes. So in that case also we normally use the same US report layout which we have selected in the authority. So we will use the same. That's all about this report, not so much particular about this reports and all, not required. So this is the different menus we have in the tax code. Other than this, we have certain other features or options here. So first one is values. Values is an area where you can give the value of the sales tax code. Other than that, we have different options here, like from date to date. So we can give a from date and to date for this particular tax value. Suppose I say from 2017, this tax code is introduced. Okay, from 2017, 1st of January, let's assume, or some other day. So it is in November only. Let's assume in the GST was introduced and 9% was set by the government or set by the authority as CGST 9%. Government is planning to alter the tax code like 9 to 9.5% starting from next year, January 1st, 2022. From next year, it is trying to change the tax from 9 to 9.5%. So in that case, what I'll do is I'll select from date to date. To date, I'll select at December 31st, 2021. I'll create a new one starting from January 1st, 2022 until a future date. I can say something like until 2030 or something. I'll say so until December 2030. I'll use this code, or this code will be applicable. So I'll say here 9.5%. I'll just remove one dot here. So now whenever you are doing any transactions or invoices before this date, this tax will be calculated or 9% will be taken automatically. And after that date, so starting from 2022, if you are doing any other invoices applying this tax code 9%, this 9.5 will be considered. So this tax code, anything, normally we give 9%, right, in tax code, but some people will not give the tax number percentage in the code. They'll just give CGST. So in that I have 9% and 9.5%, both of them. So according to the date, it will select the rate. So in which particular date you are posting the invoice, accordingly it will select the rate. So you can, in this manner, you can maintain the history of the rate fluctuation. So if at all government is changing it often or the authority is changing it often, you can maintain the historical rates also accordingly. So earlier it was 9%, now it is 9.5%, like that. Okay. Other than that, I have minimum and maximum limit. So minimum and maximum limit is a criteria where you can give what is the minimum base amount or the maximum base amount. So suppose I'll just remove this code. For example, I'm saying minimum base amount. So in order to apply this tax of 9%, the minimum base amount of the invoice should be 1000. And the maximum base amount of the invoice should be at least 50,000. So 1000 to 50,000 margin, if the net amount of the invoice is maximum 1000 to 50,000, then only this 9% code is applicable. If the net amount is less than 1000, this 9% code will not be applicable, or if at all you apply it on the invoice also, tax will not be calculated because you gave some conditions here or the limits here for the calculation of tax. So at least the base amount of the invoice or the net amount of the invoice should be like this one here, $100, right? Net amount of the invoice line. So it should be at least 1,000, or maximum it is 50,000. If it is exceeding 50,000, again this tax will not be applied. So there will be another tax that will be applied maybe. Or you can give another tax code also here for the same dates with another limits, another minimum limit and maximum limit of the base amount. Okay, so that's one. But then this we have non-deductible amount. You can give some percentage of non-deductible like 1%. So 1% tax is non-deductible normally, which means out of the 9% calculated tax, 1% you will retain as a non-deductible tax, or you don't pay it. Only 8% you will pay it. That remaining 1% you said as non-deductible, right? So you will keep it with yourself as a non-deductible tax. So maybe later if you have to pay it to the authority directly, you will pay, or if there is a clause that you can retain the tax without paying because the goods are so and so, I mean exempted goods, or if they have some non-deductible rules and regulations, so you can use that 1% like that. So it is like that. If there is any non-deductible, you can give it here. If you keep it at 0, total of 9% calculated tax on the base amount of the invoice, you have to repay it, or you have to pay it to the vendor, or in the perspective of customer have to pay you the total 9% of tax that is calculated. If you give non-deductible 1%, customer will retain that 1% and pay the remaining 8% tax. So it's like that. So those are the few options we have under the tax code, within the tax code. If not, we have another one called as limits here. So this limits is normally not for the, within this we have some options again, from date and to date, minimum sales tax and maximum sales tax. So minimum sales tax amount to be calculated, say $90 should be the minimum sales tax amount to be calculated. Maximum sales tax amount to be calculated is at least, I mean, $2,000. It should not exceed maximum of $2,000, or you can say more than that long amount, like 2 lakhs. So minimum should be 90. You can say 9%, right? A minimum of 1,000 you will calculate on 1,000. If you calculate 9%, it should be 90, right? So minimum sales tax calculated should be 90. Maximum sales tax calculated should be 2 lakhs. You can say like that. Okay, if it is exceeding the maximum amount of tax calculated. So these limits here are not the base amount. This is the calculated sales tax. So minimum there should be $90 of tax calculated if at all you are applying this tax code, or maximum it will be up to 2 lakhs only. It should not exceed more than 2 lakhs while calculating sales tax applying this tax code. So that kind of sales tax limits you can give here. Mostly they will not use this kind of limits, but there are such options also for calculating of sales tax. You can say minimum of $10 has to be calculated and maximum up to 2 lakhs as a tax. So 9%, after applying 9%, it should be calculated tax should be 10%, $10 at least, and 20 or 2 lakhs at least. It's like that. Okay, not applying this, or you can give some dates also for from so and so date to so and so date. This particular criteria is applicable. For another date range, another criteria will be applicable. You can give any much criteria as you want here, or you can save the historical data also. Just delete this since I don't want to use any tax limits. There is another option called as external codes. So external codes is a functionality where you can give another name to your code. So this is basically for reporting purpose. Suppose you in your tax you have created that tax code as CGST 9%, right? But externally some in market it is prominent with some other name. So you want to print that external code on the invoices, like it will be normally like this: C point GST hyphen 9%. It used to be like this in the external code. So you can give external code like this: C.9% and C.9%. Value, I don't think value should be 9 only, same 9%. So you can give it like this: CGST 9% again here. So these are the external codes which are prominent with others. Or suppose if the same code, most of the vendors will send you the invoices, right? So they use this kind of code pattern externally, but in your system you have configured it as CGST 9% common. You don't use these symbols and all in between for differentiation. So in that case, just to match the external code with the internal code, you can use this option, external code option. That's all. So it is saying first we have to remove the value, then only I can remove the code. So I just removed it because I just use the same common codes. There is no compulsion that we have to have the external codes in place, not required. Then we have some inquiries. So normally once after creating sales tax codes, we will include them into item sales tax groups and sales tax groups. So it is asking me here, or it is showing an inquiry in which particular sales tax group this particular sales tax code is linked to, or in which particular item sales tax group this sales tax is linked to. So it is asking me, or it is showing me those differentiations. I mean, it will show the list of sales tax groups and item sales tax groups in which this code is linked. Now it will show empty because we did not create any sales tax groups and item sales tax group set. So it shows empty. But after a while, once we link them, it will show. Posted sales tax means using this particular code, how much sales tax is posted until on which transactions it is posted, it will show here. But for now, we don't have any taxes posted using this sales tax code, so I don't see it. You can print the sales tax code and you can print the sales tax reporting codes if you want the external codes. I think you can print these codes, and you can also recalculate tax on unposted transaction that use selected taxes, all unposted transactions. Normally it is 9% right here. Suddenly you have made some changes in this and you have created some transactions using this tax or applying this tax. You have created some transactions and not posted them, just saved them and left over that you will post later. Suddenly what happened is there is a recommendation for you that you have to change the tax percentage from 9% to 10% here on this code. And to all the invoices that are yet to be posted, for on them also the tax has to be changed from 9 to 10%. So in order to recalculate the tax on all those not posted invoices, you can use this option after altering the tax percentage here from 9 to 10. So when you click on this option, unposted transactions, for this particular code, what are the transactions that are created applying this code? So for all of them, the tax will be recalculated from 9% to 10%. So if you click on it, normally a batch will run in the background, which would eventually change the tax calculation percentage on all the unposted transactions like invoices or any journals, and it will recalculate the tax amount to 10%. So it's gone here itself. It takes a while actually to load. I want to cancel it once again once it loads. So it is saying sales tax have been recalculated for transactions that are not posted and using. So it automatically run the batch job, but we don't have any right. So all unposted transactions means for all the tax codes again. It's not for a single tax code. The tax will be recalculated for all the transactions. If there are any alterations in 2 or 3 of the codes, like in this code and this code, so for all those unposted transactions, regardless of the tax codes, for all the tax codes that are pending on the on the transaction that are unposted, so for all of them, it will be recalculating the tax. So if there are any changes, it will recalculate accordingly. If there are no changes, same amount will be there, even though after recalculation. These are the few options that we have within the sales tax code. So I'll create 2 more sales tax codes. So SGST 9%. Give it here in the general. Give sales tax period as GST. Ledger posting group as GST. Percentage I have to give, right? I'll go to values and give it as 9%. Save, close, so I can see 9%. I'll create one more finally, not final one. IGST 18%. GST, save it. Then I'll give the percentage value as 18%. Save it and close it. That's how it is. tax codes are calculated. There are situations that you might also have exemption tax codes where tax is calculated as 0. For that also, for representation on the invoices, you can create some exemption tax codes with 0%. Okay, how that will be done is, so you can create exempt tax code here directly and give 0% normally. I'll show you that. I'll just create one. So just give it as exempted tax. So I'll give settlement period again since it's compulsory, and ledger posting group also, but percentage amount I'll leave it as 0 itself. So this is an exempt tax. Okay, we can give situations or what kind of exempt taxes or what kind of situations which you can use for exemption. Like first there will be certain kind of goods, right? And needed goods, or like on milk packets or any other consumer needed goods. So on such kind of goods you don't have taxes charged normally. Agro products, certain agro products like vegetables and uh, milk and other products. So there will be tax exemption on educational cess and all. So you can create such kind of tax exemption codes again. So yeah, I just created a code here as 0%. For components, you can create somewhere here. In the setup I have, yeah, tax exemption numbers. You can create this one. And sales tax exempt codes also you can link here normally. First I'll create tax exemption numbers. So I can give a tax exemption number, region, I can select something like India or anything. India. Tax exemption number, I can say exemption number 25, 26 something. Company name. I think it should not be company name. Or like I'll just select it as EDUCES. Okay, so this is how I create this tax exempt number. Other than this, I have this sales tax exempt codes. Here I'll create new one. Here I can give this exempt codes. Sales tax exempt code number 01, EDUCES or educational cess. 02, basic need goods. Can give 03. Registered trust under so and so section you can give. So section something you can give. So there will be some registered trusts for which you will do some transactions where the tax is exempted when you do some payments to such kind of trust. So that will be selected. That can be these kind of codes that you can give for the tax exemption. So you link that codes again for the exemption. I'll show you how to link it. So this is a general common setup. Now we have worked until here. I mean the creation of sales tax codes. Now let us discuss about sales tax groups and item sales tax groups. So what are these sales tax groups and item sales tax groups? Any idea?
Like customer groups and
correct. Sales tax groups are normally the groups that hold a combination of tax codes. So in a sales tax group, you can give a combination of tax codes. You can either give single tax code or multiple tax codes. It will hold a group of tax codes. So these sales tax groups are commonly assigned to vendors and customers. So suppose for a vendor, I can assign a default sales tax group. So whatever the sales tax codes that are in that sales tax group that are applicable to the vendor, or that in charges on the invoice will be applied according to that sales tax group. Whenever we do any invoices with that particular vendor or customer, the default taxes will be applied with this sales tax group that you would create and the tax codes that you link in that sales tax group. Item sales tax groups are usually linked to items. So for a specific item, you can give an item sales tax group in which you have tax percentage. So according to that tax percentage, tax will be calculated. So you can give either, I'll show you how you can link the item sales tax group and how tax will be calculated. Basically, if I have this in the sales tax group, if I have both CGST 6% plus SGST 6%, I'll give both the codes. Okay, within the sales tax group. Then what happens is within the sales tax group, if I give both of them, and in the item sales tax group also, I'll give both of them. Upon an invoice, when I was creating an invoice, I have to give both sales tax group and item sales tax group. So it will match the common codes in the sales tax group and item sales tax group, and it will calculate the tax accordingly. So what are the common codes that you have here? Sales tax codes in this group and in this group. Accordingly, it will match both of them and it will calculate the tax. Okay, so normally we can create item sales tax group with all the codes. I'll show you how to create it. So I'll just go to, first I'll go to sales tax group. So sales tax group is here, this one. So in the sales tax group, I can create a sales tax. So just create sales tax group as CS GST 12%. Central plus state GST of 12%. I just created it. So under here I can add the sales tax codes. So here what I'll add is I'll add the CGST 6% code as well as SGST 6% code, both of them. SGST 6%. So CGST 6% plus SGST 6%, total of 12%. You can see, right, total of 12%. CSGST of 12%, both of them. So both the tax codes will be applied on the invoice, calculating the tax of 6 plus 6, 12%. Okay. So we have certain options also within it, country or region or the state. You can give here IND or anything. It's just for maintaining purpose only. It's not compulsory. Or county or purpose you can give. Reverse sales tax on cash discount. There is one option here and there is also an example here. Suppose if the total amount of invoice is 100 and the tax percentage is 10. So the total amount of invoice will be 110, base amount plus tax. So upon this, if you are giving any taxes or to a customer like 2% of tax, means on 110, 2% tax will be calculated, right? So you can give basic, discount on basic base amount of the invoice like 100, but normally you are giving discount on total amount of invoice 100 plus 110, 100 plus 10, both on net base amount as well as the tax amount. For on both of them, you are giving the cash discount 2%. So upon which means on 10% of tax, you have to, $10 of tax calculated, you have 2% of discount applicable, which is like 0.20. So this 0.20 will normally be reversed, or reverse sales tax will be done. In case if you are giving any giving any cash discounts on the sales taxes, though that will be reversed here accordingly. That percentage of the discount that is calculated on the sales tax amount will be reversed automatically here. That's what it is saying. So I'm not calculating any sales taxes on the, I'm not calculating any discounts on the sales taxes, so I'm not using this option at all. So how to round off the taxes? So according to the sales tax code, single sales tax code, or according to the combination codes. Round off according to the code means in each code you gave the round off rule, right? 0.1% normal, or 0.01 normal, or 0.02 normal, or upward round downward, like that. So if you have multiple codes here, for each code it will round up separately. Or if you say combination, means add up both the values of the calculated tax according to both the codes, and the total amount will be rounded up. So the combination amount, the calculated amount of consolidated amount of the combination codes here will be rounded off. If I say according to the code, means for each code the calculation will be separate, right? So that will be rounded up separately. One will be rounded off, then the other one will be rounded off separately. That's a print the sales tax codes or sales tax groups on the invoice. So normally I want sales tax codes to be printed on the invoice, not the sales tax groups. So I'll select both the individual codes has to be printed on the invoice. Then I have this options exempt. So you will normally select this tick mark for the exempted codes, not for the calculated codes. I'll show you that. If at all there is a use tax calculation, I can select the use tax option. So I'm not using use taxes right in this, so I'm not selecting use tax here. So then I will give IGST 12%. So for IGST 12%, I have a single quote of 12%, right? So I'll directly give it here, IGST 12%. I can create one more like CSGST 18%. I'll give the codes here as first of all CGST 9% and SGST 9%, both the codes. So that total calculated amount is 18%. So, or I can give the IGST code directly, IGST 18% for intra-trade, intrastate trade IGST 18%. Add it here. So you can select IGST 18% directly. It's a kind of group. So this is for interstate vendors in India. If you are trading with different state vendors, you will have CGST and SGST calculated separately, right? But if you are trading within the state, you have IGST directly calculated, or the vendor is within the state, customer is within the state, you have IGST calculation. So that's why I have two separate codes, 9%, 9% containing 18%, or directly 18%. Like this. So I can create one more. CSGST 5% I have, right? So this one. Here CSGST 5%. Here I'll add CGST 2.5 and SGST 2.5. Then I'll give IGST 5%. So I'll give it IGST 5%. Add here. Directly select that code of IGST 5%. Save here. I can also create one exempt group for the exempt tax code. So I'll just give it as EXMPT exemption, and I'll add that exemption code here. We have that one code, right? Exempt. So you can select exempt here, and exempt code you can select for what you are exempting this one. I'll select exemption for basic need goods. So since I'm buying basic need goods like food, the milk and all, so I exclude the tax on it. I exempt the tax, so I can see percentage is 0 here. So that's how I can create the sales tax groups. Okay. And item sales tax groups I can create accordingly. See, suppose I have item sales, I have different types of items in my business. So I have electronics. Okay. I have electronics. I have vehicles, suppose any other vehicles. I have agro products. So on electronics, I normally have different tax. So tax like 18% I have on electronics, suppose. On vehicles also I have 12%, suppose, let's assume. On agro products, I have 5% of tax, or on food items, normally say, if I buy any food, I have 5% of tax, suppose. So I can categorize my tax codes according to the type of goods that I maintain in business. So whenever I select that particular good, that particular tax amounts or calculations will be taken or considered. Suppose if I have a vendor, he's a local vendor or domestic vendor for me, or I'll just call it as local vendor. Local vendor means who is within the state. So for him, I'll give IGST of 18%. Okay, in this electronic group of which is an item sales tax group, I have both of them. I mean IGST 18% I have. Okay, comma. I also have CGST 9% and SGST 9%. Okay, I have all these three codes in this. But for this vendor, I gave one one default sales tax group as IGST 10%, which you have created here, IGST 18%, sorry, this one, in which I have only one code. So what system does is when you select this particular vendor, and if you are buying this particular goods from that local vendor, electronic goods, so system will take this particular code IGST 18%. So you have a common code here in this group and in this group, IGST 18% here and IGST 18% here. So this particular single code is picked for calculation of sales tax. 18% will be straight away calculated under IGST 18%. So that is how it is. Suppose I have another vendor who is a domestic vendor but in interstate vendor. Suppose I'll say interstate means located in some other state. So interstate vendor. So for this vendor I have separate CGST 9% I have, comma SGST 9% I have. I don't have 18% straight away. So this is how I have. Suppose if I am buying goods from this vendor, the same electronics if I am buying from this vendor, system will automatically calculate CGST 9% and SGST 9% because the common codes in this sales tax group and item sales tax group are these two, this one and this one. So both the common codes are selected and tax will be calculated as 18% again, but this time with differently like CGST 9% and SGST 9%. So you can create your item sales tax groups according to the nature of the items and the taxes that are levied upon those items according to their nature, or the tax that are decided by the authority according to the nature of the goods or services. So you can select the tax percentage like this. Okay, you can group your tax codes like this according to the items that you're buying or selling accordingly. So or else you can create a single item sales tax group directly. Like here I'm going to item sales tax group. You can create a single item sales tax group as all codes. All I'll select all. So I'll just add it here as if I'll add all the tax codes. Whatever are there, I'll add all of them. So this will also work. I will add the existing all the tax codes here. 18% IGST, 15%. Then the SGST codes I have SGST 6% and SGST 9%. I just added all of them here. Refresh it. See here. So whenever I added all of them to the all group, right? All item sales tax group as all. So whenever I select the sales tax group as IGST 18%, automatically the tax code in that group will be matched to one of the tax code here. So we have common code, right? In that IGST 18%, I have this code there and here as well in the item sales tax group. So the matching code will be taken for calculation of tax amount. So I'll show you now next how it will be calculated. Okay, this is how we can create sales tax groups and item sales tax groups. And how you can differentiate item sales tax group is according to the nature of the goods, you can differentiate them, or you can create a single like all, and you can give all the tax codes here. So now I'll show you a small example of how sales tax and item sales tax groups are added onto an invoice. So for that example, I'll just create a normal vendor invoice journal. So accounts payable, invoices, invoice journal, you know, right? Expense invoice. You can create a vendor invoice journal. So I'll just create a new invoice, as you can see here. Go to vendor invoice journal, go to lines. Now select the vendor for whom you are going to do the invoice for, the vendor account. So I'll select one of the existing vendors from the list. I'll select this one, Maruti Suzuki. Okay, you can give an invoice date. Like I'll give the invoice date as 1st of November. You can give the invoice like MSINV 22. Okay, then vendor will be always credited, right? Whenever you are doing any invoice. So I'll select vendor credit as 1000, as you can see here. Then offset account, I'll select some expense account. Suppose I'm taking some service from this particular person. So I'll go with an expense account. Like so something like insurance expense, let's assume. So insurance expense I've selected. I'll just save it until here. This is what we have done until now. So selecting the vendor account, giving the vendor as a credit, and selecting the offset account as an expense account, which will get debited automatically. So you can see 1000 and 1000. Right? Is it clear until here for all of you on this one, this transaction?
Yes.
Yes, yes, no. Okay. This is clear. How to apply tax on this particular invoice, I'll show you. So here you see two selections. You can select sales tax group and item sales tax group. So according to the groups that you select here, tax will be calculated. So I'll show you how it will be calculated. I am going to sales tax group and I'm selecting this one, CGST 5%, right? CSGST 5%. So what is there in this group? CSGST 5%. So I'll just duplicate this tab just to show you. So here I'll just open it. The sales tax groups in tax module, sales tax groups. So you see here in CGST 5% group, I have two codes added. CSGST 5% group, I have CGST 2.5 and SGST 2.5. Both the codes are added. Okay, that's the group that I've selected here. And in item sales tax group, I have only one, right? All. So I'll select this one as all, in which these two codes also already existing. As you can see, CGST 2.5% and SGST 2.5%. Both the codes are added in this item sales tax group also. So system will consider the common codes in the sales tax group and item sales tax group that you have given here. So the common codes are these two codes only, right? So tax will be calculated accordingly. So now you have given those two codes already. Okay, I think tax is calculating or inclusive tax is calculating. Give me a second, I'll change that parameter. So here in general, not here in setup, we have this amount includes sales tax. I just turn it off. So amount should be calculated or tax should be calculated upon the base amount. We'll go to lines again now. Save it. Now you see calculated sales tax is 50. How it is 50? Any idea or any guess?
2.5% and 2.5%.
2.5% and 2.5%. So is all of you on the same for understanding, or do you have any different understanding? Saideep, do you have any different understanding?
No, JP.
Okay, now I'll show you how tax is calculated. Here you can see before posting the invoice, you can see here sales tax field. If you click on it, normally how the tax is calculated, it will show up what tax codes are applied and how the tax is being calculated. Suppose if I click here on sales tax, I can see here the amount origin is 1000, right? Invoice line amount upon which CGST 2.5% is calculated, which is 25. Next SGST 2.5% is calculated 2.5, which is also 25. Both of them is sales tax receivable because you are making it on a purchase invoice, right? On the purchase invoice, if it will be sales tax receivable only. So 25 and 25 combinedly 50, you can see here total calculated sales tax. Okay. Suppose if I change this group to another group like IGST 5%. Okay, here also 5% will be calculated. but with a different formula. So I'll just save it. Now go to sales tax. See here I have a single code IGST 5%, 550. So when I select that group IGST 5%, here is the group IGST 5% within which I have a single code IGST 5%. Coming to item sales tax group, the common code or the exact code I have here IGST 5%. So both of them will be matched, and the exact codes that are existing in both sales tax group and item sales tax group, those will be considered for tax calculation here in the invoice journal. So there is only one code, so that one is considered here. I can click on OK. Suppose if I change it to CSGST 18% here. So now tell me how the tax will be calculated and how much tax will be calculated. Anyone? So I just gave CGST 18% here.
Can you open the code?
In the CGST 18% group, sorry, CSGST 18% group, I have two codes.
CGST 9% and SGST 9%.
So CGST 9% will be calculated and SGST 9% will be calculated. Suppose if I go to sales tax, here I can see CGST 9% and SGST 9% is calculated. Correct. Suppose that in the item sales tax group, I am excluding this tax code of SGST 9%. I am removing it here. Okay, I'll add it once again later, but I removed it for the time being. Now if I go to the invoice, I'll just remove this all and add it once again here. Now what will be the calculation?
Only 9%.
Only CGST of 9% will be calculated here. SGST 9% is not calculated because in the sales tax group you have both the codes, whereas it comes to item sales tax group for the comparison you don't have the other code SGST 9%, so only the common code will be selected. The common code as CGST 9% here in the sales tax group and item sales tax group will be selected. So it will be selected for the calculation of tax here in the journal. So that's how it is. So in that manner you have to plan your sales tax groups and item sales tax groups. Here I'll add the other one again, SGST 9% as well. Now if I go here, sorry, I shouldn't have closed it. I'll just open it once again. Item sales tax group. So if I go here to the invoice, again if I add all, here I can see 180 is the calculated tax. Means on the sales tax, if I go to this page, I can see CGST 9% and SGST 9% tax is calculated as sales tax receivable. Since you will pay this to the vendor, you are ought to receive it from the authority. So you will call it as sales tax receivable. So that's how it is. Now I'll validate this invoice and I'll post this one. So it is saying something, select an active bank account. Why is this bank account came into place? Not sure. I think for this particular vendor, I think we have bank account. It is talking about the vendor bank account, maybe. I guess so. Vendor bank account. So I think this one, yeah. Here I gave this active date and expiration date for the vendor bank account. So for example sake, that time I gave, so it is showing me that that bank account is expired on 31st of October. So here I just gave it. Now I'll post this invoice. Okay, so that was a warning. Again, I can post the invoice without changing it also. It's not a problem. Now if it is posted here, let me know what will be the entry for this. Anyone guess the entry or just tell me the entry? Anyone? Any entry? What is the entry? So normally what will be the entry if you have post the invoice without any tax?
Purchases to vendor.
Purchases or the, and we have selected that expense account, right? So
Expense to vendor.
expense account is debited and vendor account is credited. Vendor or accounts payable account, anything. Vendor or AP account will be credited for 1000 and 1000. Now, what is the tax that that is calculated? What is the tax amount? Come on, what is the tax amount? 18%, right?
180
Yes.
Chavi.
180. Okay, 180 is sales tax payable or receivable?
Receivable.
It is sales tax receivable. Since you are calculating it on purchase order invoice, it is always sales tax receivable. I'm sorry, not purchase order invoice, it's on purchase invoice or the vendor invoice, it is always sales tax receivable. So receivables are always debited, as you know. Okay, so sales tax receivable, since it's an asset, so it will be debited always for 180. Okay, now what will be credited for the 180?
Same vendor account.
So same vendor account will be credited for 180 since we have to pay to the vendor a total balance of 1000 plus 180. 1000 for the base amount of the goods or the expense that or the service that you have provided to us, and 180 for the tax. So we'll pay totally 1000 and 180 to the vendor. So vendor will pay this 180 that he collected from us to the authority. He will pay it later to the authority. But we have paid to the vendor directly, which means that we have paid to the authority itself. That 180 on the purchases we have paid to the vendor. So now that is how it is. If I go to the voucher here, you can see insurance expense account is debited for 1000. Accounts payable account is created for 1180, and you have tax receivable 2 times 90 and 90 means for 2 codes, right? 9% CGST and 9% SGST. So it applied 2 times 90 and 90, total of 180. Tax receivable is debited for 180. As you can see, your tax receivable is debited for 180. Now you can also see the posted sales tax here. This one within the voucher, you can see how much sales tax is posted. Click on posted sales tax. You can see here clear details. CGST 9% on the base amount. CGST 9% means 90. SGST 9% means 90. You can see the sales tax direction also here. Sales tax receivable is the direction. 90 and 90. So you can see the invoice voucher as well as the date on which the tax is posted. Go back to the voucher again. So this is how tax is calculated. So all that you have to understand is the basic logic, how the tax is being selected or how the tax codes are being selected here. Once you give the tax group and item sales tax group, you don't have the option of giving direct tax code. You have to select tax group and item sales tax group according to the common codes in the both the groups. Tax will be calculated. Clear, guys? This logic for all of you.
Yes.
Yes, I need more yes from your side. Seshu.
Yes, JP.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Saideep.
Yes, bro. Yes,
Okay.
JP.
Perfect. Then I'll show you one more example. So with a small invoice again. So I'll just go to vendor invoice journal, go to lines, account, vendor account. You can select another vendor like Sahara. Suppose before selecting the vendor, what I'll do is I'll give a default sales tax code to the vendor. Suppose if I go to the accounts payable module to all vendors here. So here Sahara is my local vendor, or who is located within my state, suppose. So here in the where is this one, purchase demographics or somewhere? Why did I miss this one? This one, not this one as well. Well, so we have this option here, invoice and delivery menu, sales tax group. So you can give a default sales tax group to your vendor, Sahara. Suppose if I select default sales tax group to the vendor, like IGST 5%, this one. Or I just select IGST 5% as the default sales tax group to this vendor. Okay, normally whatever the services or products that I buy from him will have this 5% tax only. So I select IGST 5% directly from him. If I go to the invoice, if I select this vendor now, after assigning that, I'll just go here and select this Sahara. Give the invoice date as some date, like first invoice date. I can give invoice name, I can give as SHINV, something like 23, like this. Credit the vendor for $1,000, suppose. Ledger account. So you can see here sales tax group is automatically appearing here without giving. So when you give a default sales tax group to the vendor, automatically that will be brought onto the invoice. So I can select the offset account as an expense account. Any expense account like this. Let's select this miscellaneous expense account, suppose. Okay, and IGST of 5% is considered here. 1 second, guys. 1 second. Hello. Sorry guys, so see here, I just want to show you that the tax code is defaultly taken here, and you can give item sales tax group as all again, so that 5% tax will be calculated. So normally it is calculating inclusive tax. So if at all it is calculating inclusive tax, means you can see how it will be calculating. So if inclusive tax is normally like this, 5% on the 1,000 amount, right? So 952.38 is the origin amount, 47.62 is the tax amount. Total amount of the invoice will be 1,000 only, out of which base amount is this one, tax amount is this one, like this. Okay, I can click on OK here. Now you can see base total amount is 1,000 only, but tax calculated is 47.62. That is because here in the journal you have this amount include sales tax option, and within the journal name, normally on the journal name by default I have it, so it is taking automatically for all the journals. Not here, sorry. I'll just click on this one. In the journal name I have it here, so this one I have it, the control at journal name level, and also the header level, this one, and also line level I have. So again within the line level also I have this option, amount include sales tax can be controlled here. I think somewhere here in the general. Where is this flag, amount include sales tax? Somewhere it should be here, or in the invoice at least. So it should be there. Amount include sales tax, so it will be calculated like this, and I can post this one. Sorry guys, I have an important call to attend. So this would be all for today. Tomorrow we'll extend this session for discussing this. We'll discuss tomorrow again on this topic. I'll just stop the recording and